this is a September monthly report, and since we basically have released everything that's not 4.0 related, or having been moved out of 4.0 at some point, this is kind of a 4.0 monthly report, so... because they're not going to tell us anything past 4.0 until CitizenCon. Let's dive in. First up here, AI content. It's the last step of AI development generally. September saw the AI and narrative designers continuing their work in the Pyro system by setting up the spawn data and markup for the various outposts and space stations. This involved cooperation with the level design team to ensure that NPCs were spawning correctly. Then, following discussions with the missions team, AI content spent significant time marking up locations in Stanton. So they're just continuing to make sure that AI are in the right areas. We all are at this point just like, okay, more AI advancements, sure, but like, when do we get to experience them? I know how it feels. It'll be great to just walk around the game and have functional AI. Like, I can't... walking around Star Citizen and just being in an environment that's like any other average RPG release these days would be so nice. You know, just getting to know that the world is alive around you would be great. And I'd love to see these things happen in the game. But until we get better stability, I just don't think it's going to be that noticeable. In 4.0? I don't even think in 4.0. I mean, like this stuff... Here's a question for you guys in chat. Do you think that if the game was stable, if server meshing wasn't a barrier, if the server frame rate was high, if desync was good, do you think we would notice a lot of this AI stuff, or do you think the AI itself still doesn't have these aspects built in to perform? Fury, you say server meshing. Fasten, you say yes. Anthro, I agree with you so hard. I want to see like actual cargo haulers. I want to see that Hull C docked at the space station getting loaded. And then I want to actually be able to sit there and watch it get loaded, undock, fly away, and quantum jump away. Once that's happening, I'm like, okay, the game's running. We're good to go. Yeah, being able to have AI flying ships around would just make this game feel so much better. That and the economy. Like, imagine if you could see a Hull E pulling into port to drop off a bunch of boxes, and you know for a fact that that means that you're going to be able to get some cargo box missions to head down to a planet or something because that Hull E.
I was summoned by an answer.
Oh my god, Jesus! Just... Ow! My neck!
Was it once? Was it twice?
It was PK asked for one too.
Hell yeah, PK, you rock! Sorry.
Alright, the team also implemented dynamic conversations to make the versus bars feel more organic and alive. This tech and approach will be expanded to other landing zone locations and included in any future captured content. I have heard this is in the Evocati. I've heard this is happening now, live. Well, not live in Evocati, but when the server's running well enough, their actual conversations. Can you guys believe it? The NPCs don't just say things like, ugh, why can't people just put things back where they found them? Shut up, store clerk. That's your fucking job. All right, AI features team. With the upcoming release of Alpha 4.0, what did I say, 4.0 update? The AI features team focused on locking down existing human combat features, including first reactions, ammo management, and tactics to ensure they work consistently across a wide variety of situations and environments. Okay. So just more AI stuff, really. AI tech. The AI tech team began September focusing on server meshing. Oh. Including how AI systems and components synchronize during server transitions. Performance improvements were also made alongside progress on features that will be unveiled shortly. Following on from last month's report, AI tech finished their tasks for the movement system component synchronization and began synchronizing the subsumption component that updates AI behavior. We all know exactly what all of that means, right? Movement system component synchronization. Synchronizing the subsumption component. All right, let's, for the sake of it, let's check out what the last month's report said on that and why. Oops. Star Citizen monthly report. I can't type anymore. August. So this was what, AI tech? Yeah. Where was I? Where did I just read this? Okay. AI tech finished their tasks on movement system components. Let's see what that is. AI tech. They also updated navigation generation elements, including one relating to computing navigation islands and one used when exporting processes into object containers. Progress was also made on converting the Apollo Tools UI style. A new feature continued development too, which the team will share more about in the future. So I guess maybe that's the new feature? NPCs transition between servers. Yeah, I'm guessing the component synchronization is the feature they were talking about. Instead of saying this sucks, you flip them off and give them a nasty look, but they don't know what they did and what's wrong, so they get confused. They're just like, why is she flipping us off? On the performance side, further improvements were made to the vision, observable, and perception components. For example, they adjusted update frequency based on AI character LOD, so that closer entities are more responsive. They also implemented lighter AI zone handling for observables, which will deliver significant improvements when zone queries are made by NPCs. So this is, I believe, touching on the, like, when an NPC can see you or detect you or your ship, which we do have some footage of here, as they've been working on this quite a bit for some time. I don't know what the complications are around this kind of stuff. Did have a couple videos where they were detecting ships, but I'm not seeing that pop up. Here we go. So this kind of stuff, this is just perception. You can see that they've got like a vehicle over here, and these AI they're running in real time right now, and they can't see the vehicle. And you've got a ship coming in. They don't notice it yet. I'm guessing this yellow bubble maybe is like the audio presence of it. I don't know. See, they notice it once it gets close to them. And it seems right now they're talking about the idea of, obviously, further away NPCs won't notice it as quickly. They can notice things based on visual, based on audio. Unfortunately, I don't have the audio for this video, so we can't hear what the dev is saying as he shows this stuff off. Got a couple other videos looking at this kind of perception tech, but all of it is really similar to that same, like you can see, it's the same sort of situation playing out in different ways. And he had a lot to say about this during the audio, but I don't have that saved on here, unfortunately. AI Game Intelligence and Development Team. The Game Intelligence Development Team spent the month working towards the release of StarScript 1.0, with the main goal of improving how the tool feels to use. For example, how the devs zoom in and out, and how text becomes visible or hidden at certain levels. They're also optimizing the search speed of the main smart browser and drawing of the graph view. This is like the literal most non-consequential kind of update we could get. But I appreciate them letting us know. They're just updating the tool that they use to program their AI. So you could see here what it looks like when it's zoomed out, and here's what it looks like when it's zoomed in. It's much cleaner than it used to look. I've got some examples of that. I feel like we go over it like every single month. And you can see like this is what the tool used to look like back in 2018. It's like pretty ugly. But this was version 0.996. And essentially this just helps them figure out, what AI are going to do as they come across stimulus, as certain things happen, as they need to carry out tasks. Think of it as it's like a graphical if-then statement. And it's improved quite a bit in terms of visuals over time. Animation team. August saw the facial animations team developing content to flesh out more of the game's world characters. Gameplay animation continued to work on a selection of creatures previously seen in teaser videos alongside improving the creatures already in the PU. They also progressed with an unannounced addition that the team is looking forward to seeing in game. Okay, let's go. Speculation time, huh? We've got creatures from teaser videos. So I'm going to pull up the #1 teaser video we've seen for any creature so far. How many of you think it's this? That's a teaser, right? This is certainly not in game yet, but it has been teased. Could they be talking about space whales? Could they be? That would be so exciting. Sandworm. What else could we be looking at? The stalker creature? The boreal stalker? Let me see if I've got a video of that. Stop opening on that screen, dang it. Not holding your breath on the space whale? Well, they might not be in the game files. What they've talked about here might not be in the game files yet. So yeah, this is a microtech creature, which has been teased here and there. This could be something. I know people are seeing things about the sandworm in the game files, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's coming soon. I don't see where they would add that. Like, it doesn't make sense for them to put it on Daymar, and that seems like the only place they could put it. But who knows? Maybe. Apparently the Acropat is also in the game files, so that's possible. What else could we see? We could see the Pyro Crab, which when I look up crab, also brings up this No Man's Sky clip. The goofy looking crab guy. Looks like he's got a teacup on his back. But no, this one. So these are the different concepts they had for the Pyro Crab going forward. And this is the concept they moved forward with. And it's freaking huge, as you can see. Character art continued working on utility and specialist armors, while character concept art supported IAE and progressed with their ongoing exploration of fauna. The heck are these? Like, they still haven't shown us anything about these new armors. I do believe they will have something that makes them special. Kind of like the dynamic crosshair for the combat helmets. That's sort of the direction they're going in. Less so much like you can customize your character and update their skills, and more you can acquire, craft, buy, or find armor, weapons, and items that improve your ability to do things. That's why they release things as much as people hate it. The Atlas exosuit is one of those things. It gives you a little bit of a benefit in lifting things a certain way, rather than giving your player character a benefit by unlocking a skill. They're going to do that same kind of thing for helmets. They're going to do that kind of thing for different suits of armor. That's why some armor have more storage. That's why some have better oxygen tanks. Some of them will have better battery packs when you need to use charge and drain. So these specialist and utility armors, I'm assuming, do something similar, but they haven't really told us what makes them special. But the way that they're aiming to play around with armor is very interesting. You can search up a pretty good video that talks about it. God, I cannot type. Usually it pops up if you just search up Star Citizen Armor, CitizenCon, armor archetypes. So they talk about this kind of stuff a little bit here.
Extreme cold, extreme heat, or you're going into these, really where it's got acid rain. That's when you want this pillar. And this pillar also includes where it's got like best in class inventory. So if you're going down mining and you want to say, I want to do one trip, I want to get everything while I'm there, you're still going to be combat worthy. You're still going to be able to compete in combat, but you're giving up some things to get other benefits. And then the utilitarian support is that's more about consumables. So when we start doing healing gameplay, in terms of medic gameplay, healing your party, providing more support and giving you these unique roles when you're playing, and so that you can actually hone down in terms of what you want. And so when you actually add all that together, and then you're looking at, say, the damage types that we've already talked about in the weapons, well, everything we add to the game needs a counter, because otherwise, what's the point? So when you're looking at, say, the physical, energy, distortion, and chemical, there needs to be a counteract. So, we're going to need armor that has different resistances to provide different encounters. So if you want that combat armor, maybe that's best in class in terms of physical. But maybe in terms of the utilitarian adventurer, that's best in class in terms of energy damage or chemical, because you're going into these harsh environments. And so what we want to do is we want to have these meaningful choices where you're going to these, going to buy armor, and you're having the same decision making, going, okay, should I get that one? Well, that gives me all this stuff, and okay, maybe I'll get that one, and then you go, okay, maybe I'm going to get both. But then in the world of physicalized inventory, you're like, well, I can't just get onto the planet and have 20 armors. You're going to have to make real decisions. And that's where it really ties into the gameplay. But before I go on,
this is from CitizenCon 2019.
My esteemed colleague Jeremiah, and he will continue.
So with more combat, if you make use of something, it's a utilitarian support class. So as you can see in the back, it's got a little bit of backpacks, so we have more consumables, more utility slots. So these, you would expect to see these guys in battle, but then I would probably see them behind, supporting your teammates, right? So you'd have your assault guy running around, and this guy would be like, hey, you need some grenades, bro? Or like, you need some magazines, bro? But like, we wanted to diversify the play style. So no longer will you, in the future, be wearing, I want to wear the CDS armor because it looks cool. It'll be more of like, for this specific situation, I want to wear the best armor, right? So we want to move into the direction of gameplay and not just pretty stuff.
So this is this is what they say about a lot of the different things in game, and we haven't had it yet, but this is the kind of thing that they say about ships too. You want to be pushed to choose a specific ship based on the gameplay you want to do. They want to do the same thing for armor, but it hasn't come around yet. And I think with the crosshairs, the dynamic crosshairs they added last year, and then as well as, oh crap, was I reading the wrong report? I think I was. As well as the armors that they're working on now, they want to start to do that all around the game. Yeah, so I was definitely reading the wrong monthly report for a second there. Let's double back to animation here. Animation team spent time in September on the Argo Atlas alongside additional work on the Copion and other creatures. Okay, so sorry. False alarm. Art on the character side. In September, the character art team progressed with the utility and... Oh god, wait. So they were still working on this stuff. The team progressed with the utility and specialist armors, new heads for the character customizer, and tasks for the IAE event. Meanwhile, the character concept art team continued exploring fauna. So, they just continued with that stuff. Okay, art on the ship side. The vehicle content team moved several vehicles into their final phases, including the RSI Polaris and several unannounced ships. They also prepared to kick off another series of vehicles. Okay. So, the RSI Polaris is approaching final... I'm not crying, don't worry. RSI Polaris is approaching complete, and this is a pretty important moment for the game. The RSI Polaris is going to mark a pretty significant moment for Star Citizen, because this game has been based off of small scale combat this whole time. As soon as the Polaris gets introduced and they start actually leaning into the idea of multi-crew combat, not just multi-crew, but like capital ship combat, things are going to get flipped on their head. The whole idea of combat, the missions that they have to release for these ships to make sense, the payouts we have to get for it to make sense to run these ships with the crew they have, the targets we have to have for missiles this big to matter, it's going to be really interesting how much this absolutely fucks with the game over the next year. Because it's going to be, have no doubt, this is going to be a process. The Polaris is not just going to come into the game and things are suddenly going to make sense. They're going to have to bring the Polaris in, see how we use it, see how the balance works, see what kind of ships you have to bring alongside it to keep it escorted. And then they start to add more things into the game to make it work. So, I mean, look at the size of this thing. Look at how this thing works. This thing's freaking massive. This thing's huge. Now, obviously, this is dramatized for the sale. This is a marketing video, as it is. Not only is it like a powerhouse, it's a spawn location. It's going to take multiple people to run well, and it's going to need a little bit of an escort, I think, because you don't want small ships to be able to come in with, like an Eclipse could probably handily take out a Polaris if you don't have something that can take it out. I think there's going to be, much like we're seeing balancing happening because of engineering, there's going to be a lot of extra thought that goes into how everything works once capital ships come in. Because we just have not gotten to the, like, we've just been looking at this game as a dogfighting game this whole time. And it's all going to change once capital ships come in. It's one thing to make a game around dogfighting, like Star Wars Squadrons. But to try and make it around dogfighting, make it interesting for dogfighting, and then also make it interesting for capital ships, I don't even know. Like, that's, I've never seen a game like that. I think maybe Star Wars Galaxies does stuff like that. Maybe something like PlanetSide does stuff like that. But that's, there's just a lot of nuance in regards to those different types of combat. EVE Online, yeah, that's a good one. But even in EVE Online, you're controlling multiple groups of ships, or are you controlling a single ship yourself? I haven't played EVE Online in like 14 years. Yeah, so I don't know how it's going to go. We've been waiting for capital ships for such a long time, but I really don't know how it's going to go when they finally start bringing it into the game. It's going to be a frustrating process. I think we can all expect that much. It's going to have a spawn point, though, so it's definitely going to be the center of our org events from now on. That's where we're going to probably spawn out of and have shuttles that take us back down to the event, because that's going to be very useful, but there's a lot to consider with a ship like that coming in. Okay, core gameplay. They began September supporting the Argo Atlas, or Atlas, whatever you'd like to call it, which included unique tractor beam behavior that the team are looking to improve and expand moving forward. As the game's first exosuit, it required a special technical setup, as it's neither a traditional vehicle nor a character. Man, disrespect. I named mine, thank you. It's Jeremy, and it is a character. This posed some minor challenges when dealing with entitlement, vehicle terminals, the law system, and ship elevators. The team said, "We have enjoyed seeing all the fun and creative videos featuring the atolls." Really? You guys enjoyed all the videos screeching about it too? And the posts and the multitude of threads. Like, I'm glad that they are able to sift through and find the things that make them feel good about the release. But that was not a great release. I mean, it was a great release in terms of funding, and I think in terms of functionality, but in terms of timing and just kind of how it came off to the community, we've seen better releases. I'll say that. For Charge and Drain, core gameplay and design discussed whether the client-side prediction works as expected and meets expectations. From this, they improved how connection between the multi-tool and resource containers are handled, ensuring they correctly deal with edge cases and multiple targets. Mission support continued too, including state changes based on resource container occupancy. Let me show you guys what Charge and Drain is if you haven't really gotten to experience that. This is another component of the engineering and repair gameplay type. Something that you can do that's a little bit less violent, but still offers gameplay and interesting little tidbits of stuff. See if they say it around here.
Do their best to survive.
There are going to be some goods that are only grown in Pyro because of its unique star system that can be shipped back to Stanton.
We have a whole bunch of new mission types that you'll be able to do there. Then they're more geared around repairing pieces of machinery. We have what we call charge drain technology coming over from Squadron, which enables you to transfer an electrical charge from one component to another. So you can jumpstart a generator, for example. There's scope for much more gathering type of missions.
Okay, so that's kind of a... What the heck happened here? I think I just completely changed. Okay, here we go. So that's a bit of a look into Charge and Drain. Let me see if there's anything else they can add here.
You've got to use your charge and drain tools to be able to repair pipes.
So just a lot of it's not a major feature, right? This isn't like an entirely new game profession. This is a single mechanic that falls under the engineering and repair mechanic that allows you to have more small tasks that you can do around towns, cities, outposts, space stations. And what they were talking about here was kind of the resource balance of it, which you can see down here in the corner.
Repair canisters, any faults in machinery, etc.
And it's kind of just something that's going to be around in different places. It's not necessarily a thing that you will fly across the star system for, but maybe you will come across a little puzzle that can use Charge and Drain, or you come across a little mission that requires you to charge something up so you can use it, or drain something in your ships, you can charge something else. Just more additives into the game. Yeah, it can also suck up distortion damage and probably also help with overclocking components. Bioaccumulation progressed too, with improved support for wetness visualization and iteration, including a new debug tool for degradation. This is one of those things that I can imagine people being like, why are you working on this? Stop adding features. Improved support for wetness visualization. I don't know how often that's going to help with gameplay. That's kind of a quality of life thing. It helps you understand what's going on around you. But you would also look at a game and think, wow, this game's pretty janky if you can't tell when something's wet, right? That's like a simple thing in 2024. You'd expect that. But at the same time, you could also be like, add that in when you're in beta, when you're polishing the game kind of thing. So you could go either way on that. The team also continued converting markers to use the entity subscription service, which will support markers at server boundaries when required. September saw further work on jump points, including improvements to tunnel wall forces and the failure behavior. Y'all seen jump points? They also did a little bit of that stuff too. Let's take another. Oh,
Hey, Vinny,
Jesus.
where'd you get that shirt?
Where do you get that shirt? Shut up, sticker mule.
A jump point can
Probably some more fuses.
Ridiculous.
And then after that, undock, and then turn yourself to view the jump point.
The jump points will be visible from far distance. It probably will appear as like a small star kind of a thing that just like pulses and asks you to come near me.
you'll see like the massive whirlwind from the gravity pool that the jump point itself is creating, which is a gas cloud, and you'll see it in various different colors or forms. You can fly towards where the jump point will be, and there is structures in Stanton that sort of lead you towards the jump point.
When you approach the jump point, what you'll hear is the general ambience of the whole area, whether that's the distant portal emitting energy or violent clashes of thunder that is drawing the player into this central jump zone. And as we get closer, this will build up, and the player will feel like they're being drawn into something primordial.
With jump points,
So as soon as the ATC has gotten to your group and you're now able to use the jump gate, your jump drive will start attuning to the gate.
And once you have authorization and you have opened the wormhole, you'll have the tuning visual that's really similar to the aligning, but with tuning messages that tells you what you need to do. And once that's done, you'll have tuning access and you'll be ready to go inside.
While your ship is attuning, you'll see rippling in the anomaly. And as soon as you are attuned, then you can fire a burst of quantum energy into the portal that will rip it open, and you'll have a gate in space that allows you to see the tunnel beyond and travel to your new star system.
When it opens, you'll hear the space around the jump point being ripped apart and everything being drawn into it. A really guttural, swirling sound of all the space around the jump point being dragged into this one singularity.
During this drawing process, the ships are drawn in automatically. You don't have to control anything. You don't have to do anything. There is, in fact, nothing you can do that would stop you being drawn in.
So the plan right now is if there's any obstructions in front of you when you're trying to attune to the gate, that'll break your attunement. So if somebody gets in your way while you're trying to attune, your attunement will pause until that obstruction has gone away. However, if anybody gets too close to the jump gate and they're...
When you cross the threshold, you'll hear an instantaneous whip of the ship being pulled in and the changing of atmosphere between deep space and this singularity that you're being dragged into.
Once you're in the tunnel, your ship will be flying at a set speed that's determined by the flow of energy through the tunnel.
You'll hear the space around you flying past you at a great pace, like a really long cosmic drain pipe.
And you don't have any control of how fast you're going. You'll speed up in the straights and slow down the corners to a certain degree, but you still have to navigate.
The tunnel itself is something else. It needs a lot of technical and graphical things that need to happen.
We've got flickering lights, some type of ethereal type of particle effect to show you type of the direction we're flowing. We also have fog effect, and this idea that you're always moving towards a strong, bright light in the distance. The idea we're going off so far is that we're working on the bending of light. You'll see impressions of the exterior, the location you've just come from, and also hints of the way you're going to. The walls of the tunnel type of curving the space-time around you, and eventually, as you travel through the tunnel, that distortion will move away from the initial system you started in and then blend slowly towards the new system you end up in. We can kind of do anything we want because it's an enclosed space, so we're doing things like, on the rendering side, we're taking the sunlight, which we don't normally need when you're in an enclosed space, and we're reusing the sunlight, all the text that goes behind that with high-res shadow maps and these type of things, and directional occlusion, and then reusing that to create a flickering, pulsating effect in the tunnel. And we can take a lot of shortcuts and do a lot of cool things that aren't really possible in the rest of the game because we have this totally enclosed and bespoke play space.
You will not see two-lane traffic inside the jump tunnel itself. In the jump tunnel, you'll see the ships ahead of you, and if you look behind, you'll be able to see ships that are in range behind you, but you won't see traffic going the other direction.
Why do you hate fun?
It's not that I hate fun, it's that I want everybody to have a good experience in this tunnel, and if there's other ships that you can collide with, we want to avoid that kind of situation.
The players' ships, when they're traveling in the tunnel, are going to be in a line. So it's going to be, the term that we use internally is ducks in a row. So one ship behind another ship behind another ship.
Super technical.
Some obstructions in some of the tunnels, which you have to dodge around. But for the most part, it's a matter of turning and navigating through the tunnel and not hitting the sides.
Because the closer you are to the edge of the tunnel, the more likely you are to fail your jump.
The edges of those tunnels and those obstructions cause distortion damage to your ship.
There's a pool on your jump drive, and if this pool fills with distortion, then your jump drive will shut down. If your jump drive does shut down, then you're going to fail that jump.
So
You get booted
this
out
is what they're talking about in the monthly report right here.
where you could end up based on like how long you've been in the tunnel. You could end up back in Stanton, or you could be in Pyro, but you're not going to be at where you wanted to be. You're going to be at the edge of the system somewhere and have to find your way back.
And that could honestly leave you completely stranded because Pyro is freaking huge. So like if you ended up outside of the system area and you didn't have enough quantum fuel, that could be a really interesting situation. And that's ultimately what they're talking about here. Better control of how the jump point opening and traversal sequence is triggered. Alongside this, improved visuals were added to the tunnel exit. And so what we were just seeing in that video was not even, it was kind of close to the final visuals, but it's going to look a bit different when we finally see it. And I'm guessing they'll show us the finalized real visuals of a jump in CitizenCon. And who knows where that jump will be. Maybe it's Stanton to Pyro. Maybe it's Pyro to Nyx. Who knows? So in terms of that, they've also said gameplay-wise, jump drives now use quantum fuel in the tunnel. The fuel requirement is per jump, though each drive has an efficiency multiplier. And IFCS now takes time to come back online after a jump. Interesting. So you get dropped out and you're kind of dead in space for a little bit? Improvements were also made to the camera and screen effects code, while various stability, flow blocker, and performance issues were dealt with. Jump points are currently with the QA for testing. So we getting it. Do you think they mentioned how long it will take? Oh, okay, I might have missed that. Numerous bugs were fixed for the resource network and engineering, including some related to deleted entities not being removed correctly from the resource host. The devs solved issues where items with minimum power requirements were not correctly assigned power as part of the default presets, and fixed items with incorrect components being added to resource networks, which could result in later crashes. Work began on item box out bindings. When clicking on items, a 3D panel view will open with its details. Okay. This is good. I like to hear more about improvements to the inventory because it has felt so clunky for so long. And they're slowly getting better and better, but it still needs quite a bit of work. The team also improved the item destruction and repair behavior when implemented. When a player destroys an item, it will be removed from the network and added back in if repaired. Player set values for on, off, and throttle will persist through death and repair too. Let's take a little bit of a look into that component death and repair. This is a big part of how ships, especially capital ships, are going to be more of the way that you actually will affect ships. Rather than doing damage to the ship itself and blowing it up, you will now affect components, and those components will die or live. This means that instead of looking at a time to kill per ship, you're starting to look at a time to disable. You're going to blow up less in your ship, you're going to find yourself actually dying less in these fights, and more just being left out in space with the need to either repair or call somebody else to come in and repair you. And honestly, this makes me think that they should have gotten... God dang it. I'm on the wrong account, so I keep getting all these ads. Makes me think they should have had more repair beacons ready to go for this kind of change and the ability to get somebody to come help you. But here is a quick look at the idea surrounding that.
That are part of the ship
to talk to each other.
Every ground vehicle, every base, everything that runs in Star Citizen with resources.
Fundamentally, Resource Network is a replacement for the pipe system we had in the past that you may have heard about.
We chose a similar system, basically doing most of what we're doing right now with the Resource Network, but in a way that was not as scalable as what we intend to do.
Landing complete.
So right now we just have one type of hydrogen fuel, but if we want to extend that in the future to having like multiple types that have some specific benefits on the thrusters, it's very easy now to add that resource. It's just a data setup.
So Resource Network is the underlying technology for the system to work, and engineering is the gameplay we intend to have on top of this technology so that players may experience it.
Your ship flies because, the thrusters get fuel, the power plants output power that the weapons and the sails and also the thrusters use. Engineering is all about both maximizing the use you get out of the resource network and also getting the resource network itself going so that you're not dead in the water.
It's all things that players will be able to interact with. They will have to dedicate roles in their ships so that crew members are assigned to fixing those issues, and they can encounter more dynamic situations that will not happen in the previous systems.
The goal right now is to have all the components on the ship being physicalized. That means that the things that will take damage will be the components. That then means that those components are reasons to the failure of your ship.
We have the power plants, which generate the energy that your ship consumes. You have the shield generators, which take in some of that energy to convert it to shield power. You have a radar system that allows you to target the signatures of ships around you. You have coolers that generate a coolant resource.
It is all the weapons that you have, it's the quantum drive, but there are also new components that will be added to the mix, and that is the relay with its fuses. Then there's the life support generator. The biggest thing we are aiming for is switching from your health pool of the bespoke ship to just moving that completely over to the physicalized component. So damaging the component is damaging your ship.
Attack on shields.
I think this is the part where the biggest change for the players happen, because there the gameplay of repair comes in.
Yeah, I would say so.
Revitalize your ship, so you can actually use your formerly dead in the water ship after exchanging or repairing the components.
This is going to be crazy for people who are finding ships that were abandoned because they didn't work. Like, there's going to be a lot of players who don't understand this for a while, and they're just going to leave their ship. Maybe they'll backspace, maybe they'll get picked up by somebody else, whatever it is. The salvage opportunities for both the physicalized components you can take and also just the ability to repair a ship and take it to be your own. We gotta start to have scrap shops. I gotta be able to take this somewhere and sell off all the components from that and scrap the hull and everything. I guess you could do that because of salvage gameplay. You could literally scrap an entire ship from components to hull to the structure. This is gonna be so cool for salvage gameplay. Maybe organically. We gotta see how often people are actually leaving their ships out and about. But a very cool part of the gameplay is developing right here, and it's planning for 4.0, and we're already seeing signs of it in 324.2, which is pretty cool.
So we mentioned one of the new components, which is the life support generator. So let's talk about life support.
By the way, Havoc did say in chat, it looks like 3 minutes for the jump between Stanton and Pyro, at least right now.
So it's the temperature, it's the atmosphere composition, it's the pressure inside the room. Your main responsibility is making sure that there's always enough life support resource produced to maintain a healthy atmosphere in the ship. So making sure that all the CO2 that you breathe out is actually converted into O2 again. Or if you vented a room, that the room is filled again. If your room is getting too hot,
okay,
it's cooled down again.
So this is kind of moving past the component stuff. If they bring up life support, though, we'll go back to that. All right, where were we? So the devs solved issues where we already had that. Work began on item box outs. When clicking on items with 3D panel, we have that. Item destruction, yes. Okay, progress continued on radar and scanning, including delta signatures. This includes a temporary AR marker that will show when detecting a delta signature. If the contact is pinned or locked, the existing AR marker updates temporarily. New UI bindings were added to enable the designers to customize the player-facing UI. Okay, that's good. We can customize the scanning UI. Delta signatures are an exciting part of this game in terms of scanning, and we can actually find where they were talked about first. I think it was in June. Whoops. Here we go. So back in June, they introduced us to delta signatures, a new mechanic which has vehicles emit signatures when certain actions are performed, such as ping activation, the activation of quantum boost, and the changing of master modes. UI to notified players when they detect a delta signature was implemented too. So this is a big tell. This is a very, very important mechanic in my opinion. This is what I thought they were going to do with master modes. I thought that the best way for us to move forward in this game would be to have nav mode be the default mode for all ships. I realize that's not great because it leaves people unshielded if they don't know what's going on. But if they did do it this way, anytime somebody switched into SCM mode, you would get pinged with this delta signature that they're talking about, which would essentially tell you they're stepping into combat mode. Phasers are at the ready. They might be going combat. You should be prepared. And I think that's a really, really important thing for us to know in Star Citizen, because if we ever want to get away from the idea that everyone thinks everyone else is going to attack them, there has to be a default mode in which you can understand people won't attack you, right? So depending on how they implement these delta signatures and the way that we are informed of them, this could be really key in helping people know that they're either safe or in danger whenever they're around somebody. I'm hoping that even if you don't have the delta signature ping back to you that they switched their master mode, you can still scan them and see what kind of mode they're in. And I think this is another knock-on effect of master modes. Before this, people's weapons are just always powered on. Nobody's going to go and manually power their weapons off. But with this, at least we can tell if they're in SCM or scanning and navigation mode. And maybe this will allow players to feel a little bit more safe when they're just flying about. I really hope so. I'm hesitant to be excited for it because of that. I think this is a cool sort of thing regardless, letting us know when you're entering quantum travel and stuff. Like I said last time, it always reminds me of the whole that Elite Dangerous notification you'd get before somebody drops out of witch space near you. I thought that was really cool. But this telling you, when quantum boost is being activated or when they're switching modes in their ship or anything else like that it's crucial. And I'm glad they're developing this, and I hope it comes in at 4.0. In related development, the radar jammer will now prevent scan waves. Okay, that's cool. A little bit of development on the e-warfare front. While FPS radar and scanning went through various rounds of playtesting and reviews to improve the overall experience. That is one that I am really surprised we still haven't seen anything on this year. That one must be taking a lot of work to transition from Squadron because of all the different assets we have in Star Citizen that aren't in Squadron 42. Continuous release support was provided for transit with improved debugging tools, a fallback when we're teleporting out of transit fails, improvements to how transit data is stored in object containers, and a refactored transport network visualizer. So that's probably the rework that they're doing for 4.0. The team also implemented off alerts for weapons, coolers, radars, thrusters, and quantum drives, alongside misfire alerts for power plants, weapons, thrusters, and shields. We're seeing that a little bit here. What the? Okay, you know what? I'm just gonna open my other browser. This is ridiculous.
We moved away completely from slider control for every individual item. There is indicator now for fuel. This is not relevant for the initial release, but it will be relevant for the future.
So I'm guessing what they're talking about is on the actual screens at the front of the ship.
Some of your crew members to first investigate what are the issues caused by battle damage, and go there to physically replace the parts in your ship.
So you have your multi-tool, so you have the salvage and repair, and the repair part of it also affects now ship components, precisely like what you see in the Arena Commander mode. You will be able to repair items that were fully destroyed. You will not be able to repair the item to its fullest, so you cannot repair an item that got fully destroyed to 100% health again. So to repair your ship components to the fullest, you actually have to bring them to the shop again and do the station repair. Or if you did think ahead and brought spare items with you, you can simply exchange them to pristine new ones. But with the caveat, it only works, just as a reminder, for size 1 and size 2 components. Size 3 and above cannot be exchanged using the tractor beam detach and attach mode. So now that we looked at what your responsibilities are in the physical space running around in your ship, let's take a look at what you do on the
All right, I don't think we really see much of the notifications for the component stuff. Right here, so you can kind of tell that they're showing a little bit of it up here, and I'm guessing you'll just get the notification here so it sees damaged, error, and critical. That's the kind of stuff they're talking about. For Maelstrom, the devs provided support for the triggering of particle effects alongside adding support for cinematic sequences and marking parts as critical. When a critical part reaches zero integrity, the whole object will be disabled or destroyed. In the future, this will tie into the resource network. Right, so that's not included in the resource network yet. That is a Maelstrom thing, which is interesting. The mission system refactor mentioned in previous reports continued throughout September. Now, missions can be played through to completion using the full mission service implementation, while medical and rescue service beacons are functional using the new system too. My man AAK, are you in chat? That man needs to read this and hear it well and true. It's gonna be music to his ears, that poor guy. Good to hear that they're getting medical and rescue beacons going. I really wish that they would mention refueling beacons. We need refueling beacons. That's gonna be really crucial in Pyro. I don't care if there are space stations in Pyro, there's not gonna be enough for everybody who needs refueling beacons. It's a big freaking system. For contract prerequisites, the team added the option to set locality availability such as landing zone, moon, settlement, or distribution center design can also now generate multiple contracts with different overrides. That's huge. So, if I'm not mistaken, this is telling us that we can now filter contracts based on location. That's like one of the biggest things in this update. That's fantastic. How often do you take a mission for like a bunker or something and you think you're gonna do it in the local moon or the planet you're at, and then you take the mission and it's like, oh, okay, just fly 50 million kilometers. Oh man. I'm so pumped that you're gonna be able to filter out missions. That's great. Next, I hope this means, I wonder if you can search or if this just is going to the local location. If you can search on a location where the mission is actually assigned to you, this would make it so easy to create a trade route with multiple stop-offs where you pick up missions. You could just find the first one, see where it ends, find a mission at that ending location, see where that ends, find a location at that mission, or like mix and match them. This is great though. Such a simple freaking feature, but it's going to add so much quality of life to running contracts. The team spent considerable time in September improving and fixing various issues for cargo gameplay, including hangar performance, server crash recovery bugs, commodity trading, and sell orders. So just bug fixing. You know, the thing that everybody says they never do. So that they can tag missions for location and only send nearby missions to your Mobi. I mean, that's better. I'd like to be able to filter them myself, though. The team is currently assessing how the development and delivery of Alpha 3.24's cargo features went, including quality of life improvements they'd like to implement before taking the next steps. Yeah, commodity needs some work. Economy needs some work, which is the next section, but it's just a single line, so that's wonderful. The economy team continued their ongoing work on Pyro and began implementing some of the balance changes mentioned in previous monthly reports. Okay, at least they're implementing the changes they've talked about. Let's see what those might include. So those can include things like balancing fuel, quantum and hydrogen fuel, setting up prices for item components like power plants, coolers, shields, quantum drives, and weapons, as well as FPS weapon attachments, ammunition, consumables, and commodities. Economy in July said they were doing prices for autoloading. We knew about that. Understanding of player profiles, that each career is profitable according to the long-term vision of the economy. So maybe they'll just changing up payouts and stuff. Doing balancing passes for components and life support and jump drives. Okay. So general balancing and economy updates for different parts of ships, sounds like. Locations. The landing zone team continued the push towards Alpha 4.0, polishing and optimizing content and supporting the design team in making Pyro as distinct as possible. Man, I can't wait for the freaking music. That's what I'm looking forward to, the music in Pyro. Ooh! What do we get? Mission design. Mission design continued working on location repair missions, moving some of them into a handyman archetype. Huh. I thought they would just include them all in the engineering archetype, but I guess, okay, handyman for repair stuff. They also reviewed the Blockade Runner global event, looking at... Oh! Thank you! A fresh drink from Mrs. Tomato. Yummy! They also reviewed the Blockade Runner global event, looking at future tweaks and fixing an issue preventing some ships from being filled with cargo. This was due to a race condition with how cargo is spawned in the game code. Confirmed Star Citizen code is racist. They were not filling cargo into ships because of a race condition. Unacceptable. Yeah. That is, there were some problems with the Blockade Runner event, though. Alright. The mission system refactor continued, which included over 1,700 mission records for Stanton alone. 1,700 missions? Are half of those the cargo hauling ones? No, but really, 1,700 missions is pretty good. People will tell you there's no gameplay in the game. What they really mean is it's hard to get it to work for you. Alright, work also began on an improved new player experience that accommodates more fundamental game mechanics. For example, teaching players about item banks, freight elevators, and respawn flow, component repair gameplay, master modes, and more. So a new player experience that actually touches on these things, item banks, freight elevators, respawn flow, component repair gameplay, master modes, and more. That's so freaking important. Like, that makes me way too excited. I'm not a new player by any means, but the idea that they will actually start explaining things to people in this game. Man. I don't know why that's such a big deal to me. I watch people play this game a lot of times, like you see a big streamer step in or something, and you really realize how much this game does not explain to people. And I'm not talking about hand-holding people through every aspect so that they know exactly what everything is going on. I'm talking about literally the idea of, like, how do you target a ship? I saw somebody, it was JV was playing this game the other day, and he got into a combat scenario. And I realized, like, some people don't even understand what a pip is. Don't even know what the heck you're supposed to aim at when you shoot a spaceship. Flying spaceships is not a normal thing in video games, and the game doesn't tell you what that is. That's important, in my opinion. Again, not so much that it's hand-holding you and auto-aiming for you or something, but at least telling you what the heck is going on. That makes a bunch of sense to me. Narrative then supported characters by reviewing the costumes for Pyro's NPCs to ensure the various groups feel narratively consistent and appropriate for the location. There were extensive meetings with the branding and environment teams to talk over some of the environmental set dressing for upcoming areas. What do we have for... Oh, let's go to the other channel. What do we have for Pyro character costumes? Let's see. I think that would be in... They show us some of these new locations, right?
Posters are where the player is going to be dealing with trade and commodity, organizing themselves between different groups in order to purchase different food, water, ship weapons, ship components, armor, grenades, med pens, whatever, you name it, it can be found and sold here.
They focus quite heavily on hauling, delivery, and shuttling goods around.
Trader posts are organized by several different factions within the Pyrostar system. At these different locations, you might find different inventory, different perks, different goods. So if you're aligned with Citizens for Prosperity, you might visit locations such as Jackson Swap on Pyro 2, or Conard View on Pyro 6. Conard View is in a very cold location that's very inhospitable, but people still need to be able to service and trade and do things around this planet. You can find different goods, different resources there, all being sold at this location. As Conard View is sheltered within a crater, it is also a safer location away from other headhunter gangs nearby, so you've got fewer people competing for your wares or trying to pirate from you either. Jackson Swamp is sheltered between these two different cliff bluffs.
You know what I never noticed? They put the Zeus right here. Back before this, I don't think we had really seen the Zeus in engine with its final art, but they just had it sitting over here and I completely missed it when they first put this episode up.
Offering them lots of protection.
So here's some of the costumes you're seeing. It's a lot more civilian and kind of put together than in Stanton.
And through there we went for a spaghetti western style main thoroughfare with lots of different landing pads around. And because it's well established, it's got some nice defensive measures so that it can't be immediately attacked by any rogue factions within Pyro.
We see in Jackson Swap, it's a hard environment that these people live in. It's not an easy living.
Visually, it echoes like the rest of the sort of art style that we call the sort of frontier art style.
If we look at the buildings, we see that there's a lot of stucco elements, there's a lot of makeshift little knickknacks that people have gathered from around the Pyro system.
It's a mixture of that hard scrabble life and people trying to make the best of what they have and repairing things over and over again and like replacing things that
Honestly,
break.
this is a lot of environment, not so much the costumes.
The way that people are living there, it's very makeshift. Rooms were built to have a certain purpose but have lost that purpose many years ago.
There's still that sort of decorative, artisanal, craftsman like elements in there as well with the rough weave rugs and things
You
like
kind of
that.
get the
So I'm
idea
trying to
though.
really,
like it's much more ramshackled and put together than what we were getting in the more corporate Stanton system. And I'm really excited, man. I hope that once they expand out to like Nyx and maybe another system, they go back to Stanton and really start to double down on just how corporate that system is supposed to be. It's supposed to be a corporate hellhole. Like, you're not supposed to be really enjoying your time in places like ArcCorp and Lorville. Maybe Orison, possibly Microtech, but the stories that come out of the game in that system sound so just disheartening. And I hope that they can go back and like give us that feeling when we're around there. Let's see if we can get a little bit more of an idea of what Pyro people are looking like here. There we go. Jordak, thank you for the membership, dude. Appreciate you. 3 months and counting, my friend. A lot of shirtless people in Pyro. I'm into it. Wow, that's a lot of hatred in that look. Oh, crotch shot. This looks pretty cool. All right.
Okay, awesome. So hopefully you...
You know what that reminds me of? You guys remember the year before that? Yeah, no, I don't think we're gonna get the RSI Galaxy. Remember this year? Wait, was that this year? Was it the previous year? Outlaw Lifestyle. Was it here? Was it 2021 I'm thinking of? Man, these years just fly by. Hold on a second. Hold on. What am I thinking of? CitizenCon 2022 was systemic gameplay, sound of space, life in the verse. No, this is 21. Oh, we didn't have one in 22, did we? No, we did. It was here. Life, Outlaw Lifestyle, New Underground, Design Brief, Planetary Pyro. Where the heck did we have those, the modular storage compartment? My memory fails me. Is it life?
What we ultimately ended upon was something that felt quite dramatic.
It wasn't here, because it was the video opened with it. Yeah, the pouches. That wasn't 21, that had to have been 22. It was an Outlaw Lifestyle, right? No, that was just a long sizzle reel. That was last year? No. No, it wasn't. Was that last year? Towards the beginning? What? Where was that? Same demo as Starcloth. Dude, my memory is gone. I've got too much Star Citizen in the brain. I don't see it here.
The cloth will...
Character advancement? Oh my god, it was! Holy crap! Why does it feel older? Dang, that's crazy. I'm all over the place. Okay, cool. That's good that it was last year, because I was worried that it had gone more than a year without mention, because I know we haven't heard anything about it since this. But this is a very interesting concept. I mean, I'm not worried in the sense that, like, it's gone. I imagine they showed this off and they probably have to figure out how it's going to work into gameplay design. But I still think that we'll probably see some levels of... Oh my god, I forgot about this whole segment here. Jeez. Yeah, we'll have to rewatch this kind of stuff over the next couple of Monday streams if you guys are interested in seeing older CitizenCon footage. Back to the monthly report, though. So easy to get off topic. There were extensive meetings with branding and environment teams to talk over some of the environmental set dressing for upcoming areas. I think we literally, like this, right here. You got different types of armor for different types of locations. My man Ian on the stage.
Cool, right? So I think this will provide loads of customization options in the future. We're super happy about that. So we also created some extreme weather costumes for frontier locations. And these also follow the same mismatched and repurposed design aesthetics.
I think the biggest thing about this is having storage opportunities without having to wear armor.
Higher visual benchmark. So this is all driven by our new Layer Blend V2 shader.
Because that's always been a pain when, like, you want to have a backpack to carry just a couple of little things with you while you're looting, but you're wearing just like an undersuit or something. Sounds like the first undersuit to do that, besides the environmental sets that we have, the Novikov and whatever the other one is this one that's coming with the CitizenCon goodies pack. All right, let's move on to online technology here. The team began September working on features for Alpha 4.0, surprise, surprise, including the updated mission and marker system. Task also included in part 2 of the backend social services refactor, which replaces some older diffusion systems with gRPC services and adds quality of life updates. The second half of the month involved design work for new services. Live Tools kicked off a new feature to provide better access management to Hex based on various user permissions. Ongoing work involves enabling the ability to display inventories in the Network Operations Center. Best place you can get a easy understanding of Hex is if you go to the Turbulent website. You can see some of the tools they've developed for Star Citizen. Figured I'd be gone, Diz? Nah, man. We're going hard through this monthly report. So if you hop over to Turbulent Games, then you take a look at, see if you scroll all the way down, it shows some of their tool work. And here's Hex. Hex is the tool that they use to track players in general. Our reputation, our inventories, our things, what we're carrying. You can see it all here in some like videos that they posted here. And it's a pretty solid tool. I mean, it looks good, that's for sure. Turbulent does good work. You can tell from their website. I fear for the Turbulent devs though. Y'all better be. I fear for all the devs, to be honest. Devs don't get paid enough. This is good work. It's probably pretty robust, and this is a system that our whole reputation tracking is going to depend on in the game. So it's pretty important, but not one that we really hear about too often. But it sounds like they are doing some work on stability and access management in September. Throughout September, the networking team prepared to bring server meshing to the PU. Oh, man. Okay, I just gotta, like, just for a second. Can we just bask in how nice it is to read that on the monthly report? Throughout September, the networking team prepared to bring server meshing to the PU. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't mean everything's going to be perfect, but we've been hearing about server meshing, officially speaking, in marketing materials since CitizenCon 2018. You can go all the way back to it. CitizenCon 2018, Road to Release, where they came out and they put server meshing. Oh my god. Sorry, I'm on the wrong account again. They put server meshing on the screen and they said, this is where we're headed. No, we're not basking in the memes just yet. We will soon. But they came out and they said, this is like the actual big milestone. This is what we've been waiting for. This is the whole hold up. This is what they blame all the problems on. Not all the problems. This is what they blame a lot of the problems on. This is what a lot of the development is waiting for. This is the next big milestone. We got the persistence. We didn't get organization systems, whatever. But yeah, 6 years ago, they put this on the screen at CitizenCon. And they were like, this is what we're aiming for. And that explains why they're talking about Star Citizen 1.0. This is their new Star Citizen 1.0. Or rather, Star Citizen 1.0 is their new server meshing. It's what they're going to put at the end of the timeline and say, this is what we're working towards. We'll get there at some point, someday in the future, soon, TM. But back then, it was server meshing. And after Road to 4.0 and Road to Pyro and this and that, and we're working on this, and we might get that in 2020 and 2022 and all that stuff. Here it is. Finally, they're working on it. And like, I mean, they're not working on it. They're getting it into the PU, and we're testing it in the tech preview channel. And like, it's actually happening. And I know the time makes it easy to be cynical about it, but it feels dang good, you know? It's kind of like how some of these companies have been saying they were going to get self-driving cars on the road good to go and just changing the planet for like the last 12 years. And we're really only just starting to get very limited applications of it. That still feels really good for people who are interested in that tech and the people who have been working on it. And they've been saying things about server meshing for the longest time. And I am very freaking... Some of you know. I've talked to some of you pretty in depth about our own personal situation with Star Citizen and like the fact that it's taken so long and all this stuff. Many of you are frustrated. But it feels dang good to finally be seeing this going into the PU. And whether it works or not, it's at least... It is at least reaching that point. So I'm happy to see it finally there. Yeah, and then we can see how much time dynamic server meshing will take. I don't believe the floodgates are going to open, but I do believe that they pass a huge milestone, which is good. I don't care if it's not close to live. That's not what I'm talking about. I don't give a flying f if it's going to take another 8 months to get server meshing there. It is so significant that server meshing is in players' hands. I could care less how long it might take. I don't care. It's no longer a concept on a drawing board. It's no longer a message in an announcement or a slide on a CitizenCon post. It is literally being tested, and that in its own is significant. And I thank freaking God, because this has taken way too long. Not to say, hats off to you, team who is working on server meshing. I know you guys have been working hard, and I can't imagine the pressure you're under, because everybody else is kind of waiting for it. But it has taken such a long time compared to what we were told. So yeah, they said that the work that they're doing is including a new series of tests on the tech preview channel, where we're pushing out higher player counts than ever to stress the system and rapidly iterate with performance improvements and bug fixes. We'll see how that goes. Still, the tests are churning on. There are still problems with it, but they're getting data. They're working on it. And again, I'm just glad that it's in players' hands. Doesn't necessarily mean 4.0 is coming this year. Doesn't even mean 4.0 is coming next year. That's not to say that, I think it's not coming next year or this year. It could happen at any time. A certain amount of progress can happen at any point, and we don't know when it will, but it's in testing. And that can mean it's going to take 8 weeks or 80 weeks. We'll see. They also supported the various gameplay teams, helping to get their features server meshing ready and improve the robustness of authority transfers between servers. The UI team focused on multiple screens for the Pyro system while continuing close collaboration with the core gameplay pillar on jump points and the resource network. They also reworked each manufacturer's vehicle HUDs and MFDs, giving them unique colors and a new layout to reduce screen clutter and improve usability. And that's a real easy one to show you guys. They've been talking about customizing UI for the longest time. In fact, I bet I can find that for you real quick. If we go back into the old archives where they talk about UI. God dang it, there's no timestamps on this one. I guess I probably won't be able to find it. They used to talk about the idea of having ship manufacturer specific UIs. They talked about company specifics.
However many landing zone locations there are, or chip manufacturers, or whatever. So on the left, you see the kind of white box version that we've seen. This is something that the designer, anyone internally can use to kind of, there's no fluff.
Bro, they said 4.0 was coming in 2020. Let's be real.
It's mainly focused on functionality. To the right of that is pretty much the same thing, so just kind of like a dark theme. And then we have the Microtech theme that we've designed that you saw in the demo. And then a theme for Anvil Aerospace. So they're all applying their themes to things, standard components. So we have checkboxes, text input fields. And by the way, this is a small fraction of what actually it would be, but it's just kind of for the purposes of this presentation, kind of kept it simple so we could actually fit it on the slide there. So just kind of break this down a little bit. So I'm just going to demonstrate the application of one of the
this is 2019 that they were trying to show off concepts and stuff for manufacturer specific UI. And it took a while, but now they're finally getting into the game. And we get to see all of them for real.
Styles to the MFDs and the HUDs.
There's Aegis.
It's very militaristic and it's very sleek. Anvil is great. I love the green color of Anvil. It feels a lot more like an F-16 cockpit. Drake is my favorite. It's retro and Blade Runner and CRTs.
There's Argo.
It really feels like a piece of industrial equipment, which is what the brand is going for.
And there's the generic style that will support all the other ship manufacturers for the time being. For this release,
so they still have some work to do. As always, they still have some work to do on it. Additionally, the UI team has streamlined the multi-tool UI to be more straightforward without the need for floating elements. Huh. They're taking away the floating elements, huh? That's interesting. Wait, let's go back to the...
The best side hustle to do in 2024
No.
is to get a fully remote online
No.
Trade posts.
Let's see if we can find a tractor beam or something, a multi-tool being used.
What we call charge drain technology coming over from Squadron, which enables you to transfer an electrical charge from one component to another. So you can like jump start a generator, for example. There's scope for much more gather.
I just want to see the multi-tool with the floating controls.
On foot.
Oh yeah, look at that. At least it's gone for this.
So
Interesting.
you don't need to be in a ship. It will be something that you can do on foot.
So yeah, they're just continuing to fix the UI around the multi-tool. I think it's more the tractor beam component that uses the floating components, so it'll be interesting to see how they change that. Last but not least, the VFX team. They continued their tasks for jump points and supporting the vehicles, weapons, and locations teams with a variety of deliverables, including the Argo Atolls and the RSI Zeus Mark II. And that does it, folks. This is our final monthly report before CitizenCon. Our second to last monthly report for the year. They only do one for October, and then we get the November, December one in February. So, as you can see throughout the entire thing, how many times did they say 4.0? 4 different times. This is a 4.0 update. They didn't really tell us anything that's not coming, or that's coming after 4.0. As far as core gameplay, a lot of this stuff is charge and drain, it's engineering, it's jump points, it's the mission system refactor. Same with economy, same with locations. Mission design, I think they told us a little bit. They told us about a fun upcoming mission, probably not in 4.0. UI, MFDs, stuff like that. Tech preview testing and things for server meshing. We got some new armors, which are probably coming with 4.0. Character customizer stuff, 3.24.2. This is very much a 4.0 update. Oh, an MFD is a multi-function display. Basically a display you can change to show you different things about your ship. But yeah, this was a very targeted update. They are so much, it's so obvious how much they're holding back. You can see that when you look at some of these sections like economy and locations. Locations team is never working on so little that it only takes one sentence. If there's one thing in Star Citizen that makes a lot of progress, it's locations. The Planet Tech team is leagues ahead of most of the rest of the company. So they're holding things back because they are, you can call CitizenCon the floodgates if you'd like. And, we got some AI updates here and there. But this was really an update on what's going on with 4.0 and how are things coming along. And honestly, as boring as this felt, there were a couple of interesting things here. But as boring as this felt, especially compared to last month, I'm so happy. Oh my god, it's taken way too long to get to 4.0, and it's gonna suck in some ways because we're gonna pass 4.0. We're gonna have a lot of the same problems we've always had this whole time, and we're just gonna start the next wait to get to the next big thing, to see the gameplay actually change, because 4.0 is going to come and it's going to go, And it's not actually going to change things enough for people to feel like it's a different game, you know? Like things have changed so much that, oh, suddenly everybody's happy with gameplay. That's absolutely not going to happen. It's, that's a given. This is going to be an incremental update to the gameplay, but a monumental update to the back end. And at the end of the day, just like with 3.18, that back end difference is going to make more of a difference over time than right when it happens. But it'll be significant, and it'll become more and more significant with every update as they're able to add more things because of what the back end does. So I'm excited that we're getting a full monthly report that's really just looking at this. I don't really foresee them going to 3.25. I think if anything, you could call 3.24.2, 325 if you really wanted to. That doesn't mean 4.0 is coming in December, but I don't think they're going to continue to make more major updates before 4.0.